So I started out by just flipping through and seeing where I wanted to land. Then I pulled out a few papers and fabrics and little ephemera, just layering everything out to see what might work, what I might like, what grabbed my attention. Sometimes just starting somewhere helps me find my direction by just putting these pages or these different colors and different strips of paper on top of it and getting a great big overview of what I'm doing. I put down a coffee dyed base just to give me something to build on. And then, after I got that glued down and ready to go, I pull out some craft paper and start tearing it in strips and trying to get organic shapes. I don't want straight edges at all. I just want it all natural, kind of bumpy. As I do get done tearing it, I find a few spots that I want to pull off because they're just kind of stuck out just a little too much. So I get my distress ink and I start putting the distressed ink on it, and I'm using Vintage Photo. Around the edges, it's picking it up, and I'm like, it needs a little bit more. So I crumple up the paper, the craft paper, and ball it up in the thing and get wrinkles all over it. Then I take my distress ink dauber thing and I start rubbing over those wrinkles, and it brings up the most beautiful browns and textures into that paper. It just really looks great. And I keep doing that for a minute or two till I feel like it's maybe right. And honestly, this part takes time. I mean, I just keep playing with it until I get a good feeling. You can't rush it. You just keep working until it starts to feel right. And you'll know when it feels right. You'll feel it. You'll get this happy kind of little feeling. Even if you're not a really excitable person, you'll get this calm or this happiness inside of you that you can feel. So after I got done with the craft paper that I got from, actually it was from Amazon packaging, you know, that stuff they stick inside the boxes. That is the best stuff to use for journaling. So make sure you keep it because you can use it for pages to write on. You can use it for strips like I'm using. It could be used for journaling cards, tags, flip outs. I mean, there's just so many things. One day I'll have to go through do a video on what we can do with that particular craft paper. So I brought out a book page and I started tearing it into strips also. I tore off the top and the bottom. I don't want straight lines on here. I want organic torn lines. I distress ink it just like I did the craft paper. Then I bring in some lace. The lace is to soften it up, give it some more texture. I decided that the lace is just too wide, so I fold it up and I take my scissors and cut it in half. And then I still got a good long strip. I wind up cutting some of it off and I audition it on top of the papers. And while I'm working and auditioning all these papers and thinking, you know, I'm just trying everything. Am I ever going to get this to where it just says, this is me? And that's the feeling I get when it gets to where it needs to be, is it says, this is me. This is where I want to be. But I had the scripture come to mind. It says, those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Makes me think of what I'm doing. You know, Isaiah 40:31 says to wait on the Lord. Well, all this rearranging and changing my mind on the backgrounds and just keep layering them. That's waiting on God to say, hey, this is the right way to go. So then I pick up another page. This one is a paper I wrote for college for one of my theology classes. And I had printed it out. Well, I have a lot of printed paper because it took me a long time to get used to reading and writing on the computer. Just grew up in that age where you had paper, and I would print my papers out and read them and proof them and everything, with pen and all. So I took a lot of them and I copy dyed them, and they've been sitting there for a couple of years, just waiting on what I might do with them. I don't know. They turned out beautiful, the color. And now, all these years later, I'm fixing to put it into a journal that I'm making for me. A faith journal, a quiet places journal, where it just has that essence of God and the beauty of God being put into this journal. And here's part of my soul, because when I write papers or I do videos or anything like that, I put part of my soul into everything. If I don't, it doesn't feel finished. It doesn't feel right. So I'm taking this and I'm putting my soul right here on the page. I get out some vellum and I tear it too, just like I've torn the other pages. And it doesn't want to tear straight, so I do use a ruler to kind of get it a straighter tear, but it's still not a straight cut like you would get from scissors. And I keep auditioning it, and by this time I'm like, I think I need a break. I've been in here 30 minutes, maybe 40, just moving these papers around. I mean, I know it's not been that long for you guys because I've sped it up and I've took some of that out. I write myself a note, and I use some of this paper from that paper I wrote. I use a corner of it, and I put on there, come back later, let this sit, and wait and see and hear what God has to say. And you can see on this paper, my name's up there in the corner. So I've got all this stuff that relates back to me from this little note that I decided I wanted to put on there. I left that note, turned off the lights. I went and took a break for a couple hours. Sometimes we just need that break. We just need a pause, a breath. And we need to wait and just listen to the calm of the world. And hopefully your world is calm and quiet. I know these days our world's going so fast, it's hard to find that quiet. But if you can, find it and see what God's doing. So later on that day, I came back and I looked at this again. I turned my lights on and I'm looking at the page, and all of a sudden it just feels like, yeah, this looks great. I'm going to glue this down. This is the way I want it. So I glue it all down, and I actually made a pocket. After I made the main pages, I made a small tuck pocket along the side. Here it is right there. It has a little lace, some stamping, and a few butterflies. Just something simple to hold what comes next. I somehow missed this footage. I don't have it to show you, but this is what came of making this little tuck to finish this page out. So from there, I just started gluing stuff and finishing it up, adding small details like washi tape. I got so much washi tape, it's crazy. But as I use it, sometimes I get little pieces, and I'll just take it and I'll stick it in the journal, just in there, because if you look at older ones in other people's journals, they have little itty bitty scraps just all over the place, just a little detail. And I'm finding that that's just giving it a whole new dimension, a new look. A little washi here. I may go back to a page further back or further forward and stick that washi there. And I'm bringing everything together. I kept coming back to this butterfly. I got it off Facebook. There was a free digital. She had just several pages of butterflies. And I'm going to see if I can find that link so I can put it up here, because it doesn't have a name on it. So I can't remember for sure. But I cut these out and I inked them up. And this particular butterfly, I thought, went with this page perfectly. And I moved it around a few times. And once I placed it right here, the page finally started to feel complete. So I glued down that butterfly. I added some little diamond studs. They're little jewels. They're just pretty. I love putting them on my butterflies. But I also took that note that I had written. I backed it with some paper from a Tim Holtz package of labels, and I turned it into a tag because I didn't want to lose that moment. That tag was not just a piece of paper that I picked up out of nowhere. It meant something to me. It has emotional feeling, and even just the note that I wrote to myself, I was saying, stop and come back. Listen to God. Take your time. So that made it more than just a little note. So now this journal is starting to hold everything. Not just my pages, but pieces, ideas, things I'm working through. It's starting to hold parts of my soul. And I'm taking all my ephemera that I have that I've been working with, or papers that I'm pulling from to work on this particular monthly journal, and I'm sticking them in these pockets that I already have in this journal to say for the next time when I come back on Friday, I can pull these pieces out and they're still cohesive with this particular part of the journal. I can bring in more, but I am also wanting to use what I have here also, because not everything comes together right away. I think that's what I keep getting showed in this page, that I've just been waiting and trying to find that perfect page. And it's not so much perfect in the word perfect. It's that page that says, this is me. This is giving me a calm feeling. So maybe waiting isn't wasted. Maybe it's part of the process. If this encouraged you, I'd love to know what stood out to you. Was it the papers being ripped and torn and moved around, or was it the note being written, or the note being made into a tag and put into the journal? It could have been my paper that I wrote and decided that it needed to go in here too. I hope to see you next time. If you enjoyed the video, it'd be great if you hit the like button and the subscribe button so that you can get notified of upcoming videos as we go through more and more scripture and crafting. I love to mix crafting and scripture. You can go through my playlist and you'll see quite a few of those kind of videos. Again, thank you and have a great day.